Africa have actually accelerated this particular cause. And given our guest tonight on People and Power, who is the first Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, William Ruto. Welcome to People and Power.
Thank you very much, Mabel.
Okay,
I don't know much about People and Power.
Yeah, and I will say that as NBS Television, we appreciate that you've accepted to sit down with us through this interview, and most importantly for People and Power audience, because they feed from the knowledge of those we believe inspire the world.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's been a great moment being in Uganda.
Okay. Again.
As always.
As always, yeah, we hope so that you keep coming.
Yeah.
Now, you just laid the foundation stone of the future William Ruto African Center for Leadership. What are the fruits that are embedded in this particular institute for the future education, not only Ugandans that will study there, but also Africans in general?
Well, first, maybe it's a good moment for me to thank the East Africa Book of Records and the management of Makerere University for hosting this institute and for thinking about how we in this region, being Africans, can do something about our situation and inform the future by collating and putting together knowledge through this institute that intellectuals in our region, with the benefit of context and with the benefit of understanding issues from our perspective, we can begin to generate knowledge that will inform how we make progress going into the future. And I was excited when I was briefed about this initiative, and I offered that I would take up that responsibility and I would champion, you know, because I believe there is a great deal that we as East Africans and as Africans can contribute, especially in terms of knowledge, information, and how that can be used to drive our development. I was telling the audience there that, you know, the story of our continent has been told by others. We haven't told the story ourselves. And because the story of our continent has been told by others, it's been told from their perspective, from their logic, from their understanding, which sometimes is not entirely correct, right? As it is said, that until the lion learned how to write, the story favored the hunter, because it was the hunter who gave the story.
Always.
Right? So until we learn to do our own story, the story of our continent and us will be told by others. And sometimes they, maybe unintentionally, they do it from their perspective, and sometimes it's not correct. So it's my belief that the same way East Africa Book of Records seeks to profile and celebrate our own leaders, our own heroes, our own outstanding personalities, as is done by others elsewhere, it is time that as a continent, with the great potential we have, with the enormous resources that we have, we begin to assemble our own knowledge, use knowledge assembled to drive our own development, and also tell our story. Let me just help you just juxtapose that. For a very long time, Africa was said to be the continent of conflict, war, disease, corruption, unemployment. While you cannot argue with that entirely. But Africa also is a continent with 7 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world. It is also the continent that has the highest return on investment. Mm-hmm. It is also the continent that has the youngest population, energetic and dynamic. So as you tell one side of the story about our continent, nobody, unless we do it ourselves, is telling the other side of the story of our continent. Mm-hmm. So precisely, that's what I'm saying, that we must have a balanced discussion. The information that is out there must be even, you know. Mm-hmm. While many people will want to profile our challenges, they do not profile our opportunities as well. And
or even achievements. All right. Now, earlier, as I quoted Nelson Mandela, right, you'll notice that as different leaders in Africa have accelerated education, some have even gone beyond the borders of their own countries, which you are doing right now with this institute. But it's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the so many projects that Uganda and Kenya are actually doing together. Would you say that right now our relations are in a good place?
Well, just speaking to the Nelson Mandela quote, as a country in Kenya, and we hope that this will be an East African discussion, is that we are focusing on ensuring that knowledge and education is universal. For the record, last year, Kenya became the first country in Africa to facilitate 100% transition of all our children from primary to secondary school. We continue to expand our horizon on TVET and higher education. Because knowledge, that's what it is. Knowledge empowers people in a way that no other form of empowerment can do. Mm-hmm. And that is why I fully subscribe to what Nelson Mandela said. Okay. But having said that, we are in a very good place between Kenya and Uganda. Our level of trade is unprecedented, and it's becoming balanced. There was a day when Uganda was, it was one way. It was Kenya selling to Uganda. Mm-hmm. But now there is a balanced trade in the region. And not just in terms of volume, yeah, but also in terms of the number of products we are trading. And thanks to the coalition of the willing, right? We have eliminated many barriers to trade. Progressively, it's easier for people to move in our region. Mm-hmm. Progressively, infrastructure is shared. I remember going to launch the road to Swam in the Uganda side. There is also a road from Kitale to Swam on the Kenya side, just to connect. There is a discussion that is ongoing, connecting the SGR from Mombasa to meter gauge that comes all the way to here and maybe to South Sudan. Mm-hmm. So there is a huge potential and there is a huge movement in terms of enhancing infrastructure that would facilitate trade. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're aware, Government of Kenya gave land in the dry port in Naivasha to the government of Uganda, again to facilitate easier movement of goods, especially using the Mombasa port. Mm-hmm. And many infrastructural development that going forward, this institute will help us assemble knowledge and information that will help us even help the integration process, so that the focus is right, there is adequate information, there is knowledge that has the correct perspective, with our own values, with our own beliefs, in our own context.
Okay. Speaking of the education, let's find out what it tickles from your background when it relates to the kind of education you have, and then the opportunities, for example, the institutes are likely to create, especially for what we call today as the smartphone generation?
Well, I think by and large, benefiting from the history of the defunct East African community, then we now have a new version of the East African community. The education that we all benefited from was fairly the same around the region.
Yeah.
And we all went to public schools in our villages. And I have stuck to trying to improve, you know, the education in our public schools. Many people, I find, leaders like myself, they cannot trust their children with the education system that we are running as governments in East Africa.
Yeah.
You find leaders like myself, they take their children to GC, British system, I don't know, the other system, American system. And I have asked this question, and I'm asking this question as an African, as an East African. And I'm not saying we should do inbreeding. I'm saying if you are a leader in East Africa, Kenya for example, or Uganda for that matter, if you cannot trust your child with the education system that you yourself are supervising or superintending, why would any other person trust their children without education? We must lead from the front. All my children do the Kenyan education system, and I've had a big argument with them, but I have insisted that you're my children. Maybe you will take your children to the system you wish. I will take my children to the system that I wish. And it's worked. We have Kenyans today, many, I think almost 95%, maybe 99% have gone through the Kenyan system of education. And Kenya is a country that is tech savvy. The level of internet penetration, the use of my mobile phone is unprecedented. And in fact, the amount of innovation in terms of apps available, the M-Pesa revolution, which has completely transformed our banking and has become signature everywhere in the world, how that was innovated and how Kenyans have taken it to another level. So the whole array of education and knowledge makes societies better and gives countries the opportunity to leapfrog, you know, rather than taking the baby steps. We can take huge steps and catch up with the rest of the world. And I am a strong believer that institutions, education, right from basic education through middle education. You may want to know that as Kenya, we have a huge shift now to technical education. For a very long time, we ran an education system that created an enormous amount of failures. Not failures in the sense of failure, but we created a huge pool of people who the education system branded them failures, but they were equipped or they were skilled differently. Yeah? It's not necessarily that they are good in history or geography, or they are good in technical skills. And many countries that gave alternative pathways for education in their education system actually benefited more than countries that did not.
Okay.
And a case in point, which became our benchmarking countries, a case in point is Germany, whether you go to Australia. A huge population of students go through technical training. Very few go the other route. And that is what we are now changing in Kenya with additional TVET institutions, which we have built around the country, new equipment. We've even changed the curriculum for TVET. And we've even changed the examination. We've created a parallel examination council for TVET and technical training, because the system that was there for formal education was unfair to people who want to pursue the technical education pathway.
Okay. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. Now, it is believed that in Kenya, family, tribe, and allegiances play a key role to rise into power. Where would you say, as William Ruto, you fell or you fall?
Mabel, I don't fit in any of that, of the description you have made.
Okay.
I don't have that much of a family name to take me anywhere. Neither do I belong to the largest community in Kenya. Nor do I have the financial muscle that many people think would get anybody anywhere. And let me also tell you that that is the Kenya of yesteryears. Yeah? It used to matter then. Today, we have a different Kenya. And it is something I very strongly believe that it should apply to East Africa. As I said today at the launch of the Institute, we must change the foundation of our political discourse. It must never be, it should never be, we must refuse and reject our politics being about the spelling of your name, or the community you come from, or the region you come from. It must be about the quality of the ideas that you have, the agenda that you can assemble. That should define the politics of Kenya and our region. And that is something I very strongly believe in. And that is something I will go flat out to work to achieve. Because unless and until our politics is about ideas, about policies, about programs, we will not be able to achieve the level of economic progress that we are looking for. We will continue to get mediocre leadership if it is about tribe, and if it is about where one comes from, and the financial muscle they can pull, right? And that has contributed to a great deal to where we are today. That is why knowledge is universal. You know, why did Makerere University invite a Kenyan called William Ruto? Because knowledge is universal, right? Ideas are universal. If it was about tribe, I'm sure there are enough people in Uganda to be invited to come and do that institute, right? So, to just frame what you said, that has been our undoing. And when I went into politics, I first became a member of KANU, right? KANU was then a national party. And then when we lost the election, KANU lost the election then, it lost the election to a national party called NAC then, which was, in my opinion, a positive thing. Losing an election or winning an election is one side of the same thing, or different sides of the same thing. That's what competition is all about, right? And when we moved on from there, President Uhuru Kenyatta and I sat down and decided, because the politics of Kenya had again taken a few steps backwards. We'd now gone to regional parties and largely ethnic parties. President Uhuru Kenyatta and I sat down and said, whatever it takes, we must reverse the ethnicization, regionalization of our politics. We forged unity and folded 12 political parties to create Jubilee, the now national political party that is the ruling party in Kenya. Ruling party, not coalition. Right? Ruling party in Kenya. And that's why I was saying here in Uganda, because we are East Africans, we like it, we don't like it. This is our neighborhood.
Sure.
Right? I speak to Ugandans the same way I would speak to Kenyans. That Uganda must continue to focus the way we are focusing in Kenya on running their politics on national political parties that do not give opportunity to ethnicization and regionalization of our issues, right? On a national political platform, your ethnicity, your religion, the corner you come from, becomes muted, becomes irrelevant, is played down. And the quality of your ideas, your thoughts, your agenda comes out. And it is on the basis of the quality of the agenda, the ideas, and the programs that we have that nations will move forward. And therefore, just again to just take you back to what you said, it is my considered position as a Kenyan leader, and it is the position of President Kenyatta and us in Jubilee, that our politics must be on a national political platform. And it is the building of these national institutions. Because you see, you cannot prosecute a national assignment using ethnic tools, right? You can, it will not happen, you know? You cannot run a national agenda using an ethnic vehicle, right? For us to think as Kenyans, we must have a Kenyan vehicle, political vehicle. For you guys to think as Ugandans, for you to prosecute a Ugandan agenda, you must have a party that is Ugandan, that has the face of Uganda. That is why I'm not a member of NRM, but that is why, to me, you should safeguard the foundation of NRM, the National Political Party. And all the other parties should find a way of not being regional, not being ethnic, but work hard to be able to have a national constituency, so that even if there is competition, it is competition on issues, on ideas, on programs, not on which party comes from which community or which party comes from which region. And for your information, the last general election in Kenya was a big step in that direction. Because we formed Jubilee and it became a huge juggernaut, our competitors realized that they were being too small to compete with us. Then they decided to form NASA, which was a step in the right direction, right? They brought together, I think, 5 or 6 political parties and formed a coalition. It was my hope that we would then move from there, yeah, Then, and for your information, the last general election in Kenya was fairly about issues. It was different. It was about the SGR. We said as Jubilee we had built the SGR. They told the public they are the ones who thought about it. We said we're going to put in place free secondary education paid for by government. They said they started the free primary education. We said we are connecting electricity to every home. Their argument was, why are you connecting to electricity to a home? You should instead be providing food. So the argument was largely about issues, which is where we should be going, so that progressively it becomes about who can take the country forward, who is good at transformation, who is good at growing the economy. That should really be the competition, you know? And that is where we should go. And that is where I am a very strong believer, and I will go out of my way with whatever I have to make sure that the foundation of Kenyan politics will never again be about ethnicity or regions. It will be about national political parties that can prosecute a national agenda, and that our competition in the political arena will not pit communities against each other, but will be on issues who has better ideas than the other.
So, if to emphasize, Your Excellency, are you saying that that is where the disconnect of your vision as Jubilee is when you compare with that of your competition, the other leaders in Kenya?
I don't think we can
Because,
say it's a disconnect.
Yeah, for example, if it also explains the post-election violence.
No, the post-election violence is a different thing. The post-election violence is a different thing. Just to explain, I don't think our competitors are averse or against what I'm saying. It's only that they are not as bold as we. We decided not to form a coalition. We decided to form a party. We folded all the other parties. Them, they were not courageous enough. They were not bold enough. So they formed a coalition, which coalition has now fallen apart. So they have now gone back to parties that are regional, you know. Another party has 15 MPs, another one has 10 MPs, another one, you know, so they've largely, yeah. But the issue of post-election violence is something else. It is just a basic thing of people who are not Democrats participating in elections. If you are not a Democrat, you know, a Democrat will participate in an election knowing that you can either win or lose. A person who is not a Democrat participates in an election only to win. And when they don't win, then they cause violence. It's as simple as that.
Yes.
There is no science around there. So what we must do is to tell anybody who participates in an election, if you are not a Democrat, please don't participate in an election. Because in an election, you can either win or lose. So if you're not a Democrat, maybe you should find something else to do.
Okay, now Your Excellency, the elephant in this room right now is the question of who replaces Uhuru Kenyatta. Probably, I don't know how the answer to that question is going to be like, but it's the elephant that we want to tackle right now.
You know, I would have asked you how that is your business as a Ugandan. But I also realize that this is East Africa.
Exactly.
And Ugandans have as much at stake
in what happens. We're always following.
In what happens in Kenya, as much as we are also concerned about what happens in Uganda. Kenya is a democracy. And democracy has its dynamics. Uhuru Kenyatta and I are members of one party. Jubilee, at an appropriate moment, using its structures, will work out who the candidate that will run when the elections happen next in 2022. We will sit down as a party and agree, using our structures, in a competition who becomes our flag bearer. It is not automatic that the deputy party leader, that's me today, becomes automatically the party leader. It's not automatic. It's a product of a process, a competitive process. Many other people will show interest in any other position. There will be candidates for MCA, there will be candidates for members of parliament, there will be candidates for senators, for governors, and of course, for the president. And every Jubilee member is free to participate in that process. And every Jubilee member is qualified, so long as they meet the statutory requirements to be elected president, which are basic. They are free to offer themselves as candidates in Jubilee. And I want to tell you, that's partly what President Kenyatta and I agreed, that we want to build a party that gives everybody equal opportunity, irrespective of the community you come from, irrespective of the region you come from, irrespective of whether you have money or not. That is the platform that Jubilee offers.
Okay.
The members of Jubilee will listen to every candidate. Yeah? And we intend to provide a platform. The same way Republicans in the US, Democrats in the US provide a platform. We want our candidates to come and debate. Let the best man or woman with the best ideas that the party identifies with and the country resonates with the country be given the ticket. I want to tell you, Mabel, that I am ready. If I am not picked by my party, I will support whoever, and I want to say it without fear of any contradiction, and I want it on record. I will support whoever gets our party ticket when that time comes, right?
Right.
And the issue of succession is not an immediate issue. We have serious issues. We have a huge national program to run. We have a big transformative program under the Big Four agenda to run. That to me is central. That to me is priority. That the process of transformation of our country, the road network we are engaged in, the electricity connection we are facilitating, the water, the housing, food security, universal health coverage, that is primarily the basis upon which we were elected. It was in our manifesto. That is what takes precedence at the moment. The time for a transition will come. And we understand as a party that a leadership of a party is as good as how it arranges its succession. It's part of success of a party. There must be a predictable, not ad hoc, a predictable process that everybody knows, I will participate in this manner, it will end up here, the results would be like this, and everybody will look at it and say, yes, let us take forward.
Okay.
What I have said is, I am very clear in my mind where we came from, right? We came from a divisive past. We came from an acrimonious past that had a lot of ethnic undertones, That is one place we must never revisit. That is one place we must never go. And I will do everything in my ability to work with Uhuru Kenyatta to make sure that our party becomes that party that every Kenyan from every community can be happy to belong to.
Okay. Now, Your Excellency spoke of the past and the present, but at the same time, like in Uganda, we mentioned earlier, we're clearly always following what is happening within the politics of Kenya. And there's now critics saying that you were a clear favorite of Uhuru Kenyatta until the present handshake with Raila, right? Why is this a big deal in Kenya, or the pitting of you against Raila?
I think the president has been very clear, and to be fair, Raila has also been very clear that the handshake is not about 2022. And in any case, the handshake is not a political party.
No.
Uhuru Kenyatta and I belong to a political party called Jubilee. Raila belongs to another political party. So there can never be any confusion when it comes to matters 2022. Uhuru Kenyatta and I will go and discuss matters in our party. So if your contention is right that I am the front runner, the handshake does not bring any different context, because when the time comes, there will be a competition in Jubilee for the Jubilee candidate, and in NASA for whoever, or is it ODM or some other outfit that they will have, and we will meet at the polls. So I don't think there is any context where the issue of the handshake informs matters to do with 2022. There are those, of course, who want to stretch it, that this is about 2022. But unless there is another political formation or there is another political party, that is a mirage.
Okay.
In my opinion.
All right. As a leader, in this case, maybe you'll speak for William Ruto. Do you have a particular limitation to what you can't do to stay in politics? Particular limitations, because most African leaders always want to stay in power. At least most of them have even served longer, and later I would even want to pick your mind on if you think the long-serving leaders in Africa are actually fast fading with the upcoming generations. But before that, for you as William Ruto, have you had limitations where you say that I cannot do this to stay in power?
One, let me say the following. I don't know whether I quite understand what you're saying, but let me just try and see whether I understand it. I am a leader because I am elected. I believe that I have something to offer, all right? And part of the transformation that has happened under the Jubilee administration, I have made a contribution, right?
Yeah.
The people of Kenya in the next election will assess what Jubilee under the leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta, myself, and the entire party have achieved. They will score us. They will, if they think we've done a good job, which I submit that we have. The people of Kenya will give us another opportunity. That opportunity is, however, limited by our constitutional provision. After 10 years, in Kenya, you can only serve as chief executive or president, for that matter, for 2 terms. Then you exit. So when President Kenyatta exits in 2022, there will be a succession in Jubilee and in the country. There will be a new president. If we win as Jubilee, there will be a Jubilee president. If that, if the candidate will be me, then there will be a president called William Ruto. If that does not happen, if the other people win, the other side wins, there will be a president. Kenya will move on. The one thing that we will not allow Kenya again to do is to engage in violence. That one we will not accept.
Okay.
We will do whatever it takes to avoid and to refuse the country to go the route, that slippery route, again. I know President Uhuru Kenyatta because he's been my friend for many years. If there is somebody who has supported Uhuru Kenyatta in every election that he has run for president, I have not only voted for him, but I have campaigned and supported him heavily. Right? So I know him. He is not the type of leader who will want to fiddle with the Constitution. That I can tell you for free. Right? I hear many people, sometimes in Kenya, say, oh, you know, President Kenyatta is young, therefore he should not go anywhere. And if you look at many of those people who are saying those things, they are people who have never voted for Uhuru Kenyatta. So they don't know him. Right? Mm-hmm. There are people who 2 years ago were saying that Uhuru Kenyatta is unfit to lead. Right? But because it is informed by something else, yeah, all of a sudden they are saying some stuff. But I want to tell you that Kenya is a democracy. And I dare say a mature democracy.
Okay.
Yeah. That we all understand, we all know that the term of the president will come, one president will go, a new president will come, and Kenya will move on. That's really what Kenya is about. So if and when it happens, my limitation will be either you have been voted out or your term has come
to an end.
Those are the limitations that are there.
The phenomenon of African leaders long stay in power, do you think there's hope of it fast fading?
I have a very serious problem with people imagining that they are the only ones who can lead. I have a problem. I think we have enough people. We have enough Africans who can lead. And if you cannot put together your ideas in 10 years, in 2 terms, even if you are given a century, I don't think you can, right? And what we should do as leaders to guarantee that there is continuity is to depersonalize government, you know, to make sure that there are strong enough institutions, strong enough political parties as institutions of governance that guarantees that whatever leader comes into office, the party structure is strong enough to ensure that there is continuity. If people have voted for progress, for transformation, for a government because it has done this and that and the other, the party should be able to guarantee that whoever is elected president or leader in that party, the party structure should be strong enough to make sure that there is continuity.
Okay.
And I believe that what we should be doing as leaders in this continent is to build strong enough institutions, governance institutions, including political parties, and including making sure that our constitutions, institutions of governance, whether it's parliament, whether it's the Senate, whether it's the judiciary, whether it is the civil service, are strong enough to make sure that whoever the leader may be, they cannot completely disrupt development or progress in our country, but they can influence, they can change the course of things. You know, when people see that there is benefit in shifting or moving this way, you know, like the way, for example, we shifted the emphasis on education, for example, to technical education. Many people are happy with it because they can see the end product is much more useful, right? So that should be really the context. And I think our founding fathers in this continent, many of the leaders who've served long in our continent, they have made their contribution. You remember I have said, for example, in your country, you have the NRM. I have a lot of respect for NRM because it is a national political party. It has a national outlook. It has strong structures. That is what you need to guarantee succession in leadership, succession in development, making sure that there is continuity. And that's what we are building, for example, in Kenya with our Jubilee Party. And other political parties elsewhere. That should really be the place where we should be going as a continent. I am a very strong believer that politics should be less about personalities and personality cults and ethnicities, and more about the collective political party, the collective will of people. That has stability, and that is guarantees continuity.
Okay. Finally, Your Excellency, maybe this will inform the legacy that you feel you've seeded for you to be remembered. So I'll ask, if you died today.
God forbid.
Yeah, God forbid. Would you die happy? Would you die thinking, I'm content and satisfied with how I've lived my country?
Let me tell you this, that from where I started, yeah, and the contributions I have made as a member of parliament, as a minister of government, and today as deputy president of Kenya. If my career were to end today, I would proudly walk home. I would be, I am satisfied with what I have. I know I could have done better. Yeah, I could have done better. Maybe there are things that maybe with a bit more effort, maybe I would have created much more influence. But I would not begrudge anybody. You know, I would not. I would comfortably say I have made my contribution. I know that given an opportunity, I could make an even bigger contribution. Yes, I am very confident that I can make an even bigger contribution. But if that opportunity did not come, I would not complain. Okay. I would not say that anybody became unfair to me. You know, I would confidently say, yes, I had an opportunity. Mabel, let me ask you. In a population of 47 million Kenyans, there is only one deputy president in Kenya, one. I mean, surely.
Okay.
How can you begrudge anybody? Because, and all the 47 million Kenyans would actually qualify to be deputy president, but it's me, you know. So I wouldn't, it would be very unfair if I were to complain to anybody. I mean, I've had an opportunity that many would want to have, but God has been gracious to me. The opportunity came to me.
Okay.
And that is why I work so hard. Let me tell you, I work so hard to make sure that I don't